share in either wisdom, story, or logic, and it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and store of others.
Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. Today we are having back on for the second time Matthew Hazen, who's the CEO of MasterPeace. He's been working alongside Dr. Robert O. Young, who's been incarcerated and needs our help. So we're doing this special broadcast. This wasn't anything that we had planned, but Matthew asked me if, we could bring some attention to what's going on, so maybe people can send some letters, how Dr. Robert has helped them to the sentencing judge to know that he's helped a lot of people out there, especially if he's, helped you. So maybe we can get a little bit about yourself, Matthew Hazen, a little bit about your background, your education, what part of the world you grew up in, what part of the world you're in now, just kind of brief overview. We did have an interview with Matthew about a month ago. So, if you want to give more further details into him and his story, you can go there. But if he just gives us a brief interview for all of our new subscribers or anybody that hasn't heard his story when he first came on here on the Missing Link Live. So welcome, Matthew.
Hey, thanks for having me on again, Jesse, and thank you for supporting one of our greatest scientists and humanitarians of our era. And so anything that we can actually do to help them. My name is Matthew Hazen. I am from the small state of Kansas. I am most proud of how great of a dad I am, and I have a lot of resources that we've come up with in the last year, and we're really putting them to good use, doing a lot of scientific data, a lot of human studies on this toxin problem, this health epidemic that we're all in. And that's really why I was work lockstep so much with Robert Young on so much of it. But in today's show, we're actually going to be able to empower people with the ability to finally make a change. We have the most innocent man I've ever seen, Dr. Robert O. Young, go through the biggest sham trial that I had ever seen. I flew out to California, watched it. Several of us did. We witnessed a trial that every piece of evidence that they tried to present as evidence showed to be tainted. It looked like the most ridiculous court hearing ever. Everybody expected a 5-minute acquittal. Unfortunately, throughout the hearings moving up until trial, it came out that they were making a very, very big, nice documentary about this. So they're wanting to be able to make a documentary about taking Dr. Robert Young out. And so what we watched was obvious witness jury tampering, because where the deputies, witnesses that were there at the trial that are going to be providing their affidavits and so forth for it, including the deputies' testimony, they all expected a 5-minute acquittal. Even the deputy said in 26 years of watching trials, he had never seen a trial like this. And so for what has happened is the biggest tragedy against one of our greatest, most kindest, truest men of our time. He's awaiting sentencing on March 28th. The judge has an enormous amount of options, Jesse, being provided to her. We are currently with a big law team, and they're getting bigger. We are putting together all the conflict of interest, conflict of jurisdiction, conflict of law, every type of motion appeal. There is American Disability Act rights violations in this case. There is several Brady violations that usually they alone will make a case mistrial. So he's the judge who is going to be sentencing them. What we want to do is provide her address. And so there needs to be a lot of letters. I suggest maybe if we could keep them as short as possible. But if you are out there and we have been inundated with people asking, they're heartbroken, and they want to know what they can do to help. We've been blasted with that. And so what we have put together is we want to provide everybody in the description the address to send the letters to. And for me, 4 months ago, Jesse, my mother-in-law was in the emergency room. Both of her lungs were collapsed. They were non-functioning. Everything about her was going down. They were putting her on full life support. She was already on half life support. And she had beginning stages of blood sepsis, acidosis, very severe stuff, which usually leads to death. Thankfully, I had Robert Young to talk to. He told me exactly what to do, which was essentially take what's identical to blood. And we had to go into the hospital because the hospital has their regulations. We had to sneakily take care of her. And within 6 hours, this woman who was dead, essentially when we came into the room, her whole family, my wife and everybody fell apart. But because of Robert Young, my mother-in-law is alive today. In 6 or 8 hours, she was doing incredible. In 48 hours, she was kicked out of the intensive care unit. And everybody in the hospital said they had never seen a turnaround like that. And she's still alive. So for me, I have my mother-in-law. A lot of people have learned about the principles of the pH Miracle Diet. And because of them, they've lived healthier and more fulfilling lives. There is a countless amount of people whose lives weren't just changed, but saved. And those stories need to be told right now. If you have been positively affected by guys, Tesla in his time was not known as the mighty Nikola Tesla because they kept his science down at that time, and then they reverse engineered it. They did the Royal Rife was not accepted by everybody and loved, but their science was the most leading edge of their time. You know, Robert Young in the late 80s, he was telling everybody to question if the AIDS virus existed because they hadn't seen it. He was the first one that published in the mid 90s on our human biofield. And we live in an American medical system that is completely corrupt, and peer-reviewed published papers don't mean much in America because they can be bought and paid for. But in India and in some other major countries, it is the one last place where we can see good, true science. And Robert Young in India has published over 3,000 medical and scientific articles going over, you're talking about quantifiable, provable science, not just discussion stuff. Peer-reviewed is the highest rigor. So when we're dealing with our greatest scientist of this era, he's never, ever, he's never done anything to want to hurt anybody. He never told anybody no. If someone didn't have money, he never told them they couldn't come out to his healing ranch. That he never turned anybody away ever. And his judge in this case, justice in this case is full-blown mercy. So the judge can give mercy. If she has a stack of letters there of people who explain who Robert Young is, because at the trial, they made him out to be a crazy this and that and everything. The same way if you look him up on Google or anybody good on Wikipedia, right? So everybody at this point is completely heartbroken by this injustice. It absolutely makes no sense to anyone. Everybody has been messaging in to help and wanting to help, and this can really help them. This, along with all the other motions, appeals, violations, the exhibits that are being put together on his behalf that the judge will be aware of before sentencing. And there is a storm of press coming down off of this from the conservative press release. I guess Donald Trump just met with Dr. Robert Young, is Brigham Young's great grandchild. So he's a part of the LDS Latter-day Saints, and they just met, the leaders of the Latter-day Saints just met with Trump. And there has been a lot of communication. Robert Young is personal friends with RFK Jr. So there's been a lot of people who have made them aware this week about the situation, or in the last 2 weeks. RFK Jr.'s right-hand person, who is the CEO to his Children's Health Defense, her name is Mary Holland. She has been tweeting on behalf of Robert Young, a couple tweets out this week. There is an investigation being opened up that's already opened up, and I don't want to say too much, but the California DA's offices are the most corrupt DA's offices, known as the most corrupt DA's offices in America. And Trump has been pretty adamant for the last couple months that because of the way they came after him, he was going to take a special bone to pick with them, is what he told them. And he named several of the California DA's offices. So, you know, Robert Young has been a fierce advocate for natural health. He's been our pioneer too. And we want to allow the judge to know about this great man so that when she sentences him, she can do what she feels is best. Right now, Robert Young is incarcerated in the San Diego County. Truth is the most powerful weapon we have. Preserving the truth is the most critical thing we can do to preserve our evolvement and us getting better and from out of the control of the entire system. So what we have done is preserved Robert's website, all of his articles, the best that they can. They had him completely shadow banned up. But we just want to make everybody aware that give the judge your heart. Tell them how Robert's helped you or how his knowledge on health and biology has enriched your life. Okay? Make her feel that. And again, there is massive press releases that are starting this week. They are amazing to see because there are, they're going to bring the light and exposure to the corruption and to how they tainted the evidence and how they completely manipulated this trial in order to get this conviction. And, on behalf of Robert's innocence and freedom and for what's right in our world, you want it. Everyone's always wanting the way on how to get involved and how to be involved and how to actually make a difference. Well, when we get that chance, we should take it. I will say that what we're going to see with the press releases is that it's being called a sham trial. And I would just say that, this is what we can do. And then with the judge seeing all these tragedies that were trying to be swept underneath the rug in terms of how the court went, how the trial went, they're going to know that this is way out into the open and their actions are going to be accountable for. And that's always a good situation to put people in power in. You want them to always be accountable.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what happened to Dr. Robert Young, why he was, charged, why he had a trial, and why he was incarcerated. So maybe you can tell us what you know about that.
Absolutely. The woman who was on the early morning show for 20 years with Bryant Gumbel, her mom was a lifelong friend of Dr. Robert Young. She would come see him for 40 years. She was and she is still the only alleged victim of this court hearing. She is still alive to this day. She's 84 years old. So the only victim of this man who has spoken on every major continent at countless colleges, published over 52 books, has affected millions of people's lives. The only alleged victim they could produce is a personal, lifelong friend of Robert Young's who he never charged money. If he charged her for an ultrasound or something like that, he would give her $3,000 worth of free hotels. So she owed him money. He took care of people to take care of them. So in the court hearing, they are saying he's practicing medicine without a license. That's the charge. And then elderly abuse because it was someone over 65. And then what they tacked on was elderly theft of over $950 because they said that he talked her into buying pH Miracle products, which she had a She had cabinets and cabinets. She had hundreds of containers of stuff from 30 years, not even PH Miracle stuff, just everything. They took pictures of everything and tried to make it look like he was just taking a rich woman and having her buy all this stuff. The alleged victim did not go to trial. They recorded her testimony, and his attorneys never got to cross-examine her. So the only alleged victim of the case, he wasn't allowed to face, and they never even got to cross-examine her. The piece of evidence that shows where she signs when you're doing intake, you always have you sign in, and it has a disclaimer and whatnot. That piece was purposely thrown out by his corrupt attorney, who we have severe conflict of attorney, major issues with conflict of interest that'll probably get the case thrown out once the judge is aware of it, because and that's a long story in itself. But he is being the man. Robert Young has been the biggest advocate against the medical system for many, many decades. He has never, ever on any level tried to pretend or pose to be a doctor. He never tried to prescribe pills. He's never put anybody on a table to do surgery. These are things that they call practicing medicine without a license. They say, what's the crime of practicing medicine without a license? Well, did I try to write a prescription to you? No. Okay, did I do surgery on you? No. And then the third thing is you can't tell people to get off of their pills, which he never did. What he told her when she talked about getting off her pills or whatever, he said, go talk to your doctor about that. They had one message between him and a personal friend, one message after subpoenaing his emails and text messages going back years with this woman. They have one message where she was on her liver or thyroid pills, and she said, could I cut those in half if I'm doing this good? And he said, sure. That was it. And they used that to give him, now they're trying to give him enough time and bring him more charges to make sure he dies in prison. They want him to die in prison. They can give him up to 16 years. He's 73. He won't make it in prison like that. So the judge in this case, the sentencing judge, Christopher James and many other told him a year ago when he had $1 million in attorneys and soaked up, and he's not familiar with the law stuff, and we're way past that point. So what does that even matter? If we're talking about what Christopher James told him a year ago, the man's in county jail, he's waiting sentencing, and what matters is really how we can help one of our most innocent, greatest men. We can all make a change. Not about how he got there and if he made mistakes along the way, because if you've ever had your life and your freedom threatened, it's, when we get into fear mode, it's not easy to make perfect decisions. And so, yeah, there is a past where people in the law space, but now we have better law scholars, better people, which I love Christopher James, but we have people who know how to write files, motions, and don't just understand the law, but are putting everything together for him. And those are going to be presented in the case file. So the judge who did the trial will be able to look at all these incoming Brady violations, conflict of interest, conflict of jurisdiction, conflict of law. They're going to see ADA rights problems here. They're going to see tainting of the evidence, which it's in the transcription. We have all this put together. We have a huge team. And so with these letters that will be coming in because of all of us here, then it'll be amazing, because the judge will be looking at a big illuminated mess, because this whole thing's in the press and the DA's office is under investigation and there's a lot of heat coming on them. And so what they're going to be able to do is we're going to actually be able to individually, you, me, and everybody out there, we're going to be actually being able to, the judge is going to have to go, oh gosh, look how this guy's amazing. He saved so many people's lives here. And that will, that's what we're working with. Yeah.
When you said that there was a press that was saying that this was a sham trial, that surprised me, because usually the press works in cahoots with these sham trials. They character assassinate. They actually help sway public opinion against
Yes.
people like this, but you're saying that wasn't the case, that they were. Could you maybe elaborate on that?
Yes, I thought it was very appropriate in this case because when evil is trying to do evil stuff, which is what this courtroom is trying to do to Robert, they want to do it behind closed doors. They want to sweep it underneath the rug. They don't want when they make a mess and taint things and do all these manipulative, deceitful, creating evidence and so forth. So what I did is I contacted press release companies. I contacted PR companies. And I told them that there is an innocent man. He's a conservative and we need attention brought to it. And I'm the one that got them going on that because it's called, you know what? I don't know if you know anything about the art of war, but when you got those jokers, you want them to feel heat. You want that judge butt to pucker. You want that DA's office and the attorneys that have done when they have done a completely wrong thing. I made PR companies aware of it that are sending out all this because that's one facet of how I'm trying to help this man. I must say this, Jesse, to everybody out there. If you know anything about Robert Young's life, if we allow one of our greatest to go down without us all helping, then by the karma of our own non-action, me, you, and everybody else, we better not complain when they come for me or you, our families, our loved ones, and our children. Okay? That's the truth. Whatever Robert's meant to you, however he's benefited you because he taught everybody how to eat, live, the real biology, voice it. Voice it in a letter to someone who has control over what they're going to do with his life. Because through the pressure, through the illumination of this court hearing, they will have the opportunity to try to throw him away, which is going to bring in more attention to what's happened here, or they could show him mercy. So we want to offer them the opportunity to do that. Robert has been helping us with nano-colloidal, all-natural formulas and products for over 2 decades. His greatest accomplishment with that, he has been telling everybody, was his part in the MasterPeace solution, the formula. Because of the MasterPeace formula, that really is his formula, what MasterPeace is now. The original MasterPeace, we had all forms of testing on it, and it was absolutely amazing. And the finesse, the fine tunes that Robert put on it increased the pH, increased the electron, which is energy potential, and and it alkalizes the cells far better because of the structuring technique that he showed me. So when you have a very strong quadruple structuring system with the most natural clinoptilolite, which they make into sub-nanometer size, so it's so small that it can go anywhere in the water, anywhere in the body that your water goes. What we've seen through our various human clinical trials that was randomized, placebo-controlled, when we have tested the blood, the urine, and the hair for levels of all heavy metals that they test for, things like glyphosate. All this can be looked at on either Dr. Robert Young's website or on the MasterPeace website. But making the change and helping Robert is a great thing. Another part that's big is we all have to realize we have to take care of ourselves so that we can be our best for everyone. And in today's world, our health is our wealth. Our wealth is our health. I think if anybody was, if anybody, no matter how much you have in your life, if your health is bad, it doesn't matter, right? We can all agree to that. So becoming your own doctor in today's day and age is a critical part to having a high quality life. That you are empowered. The gold standard on how to measure, look at your body's mineral deficiencies, how much the amount of toxic heavy metals in you. The gold standard is the hair test. On our website, for anyone who has not taken MasterPeace, you can choose to opt in to our current study. We have over 160 people. It's growing every day. We're in over 22 countries. We're normal, everyday people that came together out of the truther movement. Everybody with us was from different places and different parts of the truther movement. Some even came from that woman, Kim Gogan, when she was putting things together. And so there's all kinds of us that have done the work and built something that has proven itself out in every single way and has gotten the attention of the FDA, the FTC, Health Canada, well choreographed smear and hit campaigns. And so if you guys would like, you can go on our site. If you haven't tried MasterPeace, why not find out the 16 major the most minerals in your body, sodium, potassium, a whole bunch of them. Why not learn how much heavy metals you have in you, how good your body's working, your digestive system, your renal system, your adrenal system, all of that is shown on this hair test. And then you'll get 3 bottles of MasterPeace. You'll take those at the recommended 10 drops a day. It is seawater with natural clinoptilolite mixed. That's all it is. There's no preservatives, nothing else in there. And then after the 3 bottles, which takes 4 months, a little bit over 4 months, then you do another hair test. And you'll see how your body is now releasing stuck, trapped heavy metals out of there. And it will see how your whole levels are with your minerals. So you will know if you should be taking a magnesium supplement or not, or anything else, because you'll see exactly what your body tests. And that is something that's no other company has ever thought their product was good enough to do. They never thought their product would work good enough that they would put it on the line and challenge the product, because why would we put the best gold standard on there with and then have you before and after taking MasterPeace if we didn't know from the other trials that we have done that how well it works and how great it works. We have over 6,000 testimonials from people. This last week, my neighbor who has a 5-year-old autistic child who doesn't nonverbal, his name starts with a G. Her husband, they adopted this child right out of the hospital. His mom was on drugs while she was pregnant. Child came out harmed, and they adopted the child from the hospital. Her husband died 1.5 years ago in a car accident. She's been having to take care of this child who her body is bruises from neck to feet from her having to try to work with him and deal with him. And now they were just putting him into a helmet. I said, hold off on the helmet. Just hold off. I got about 20 examples in my head of autistic children I've seen with this. Just hold on. I told her, I said, the first thing you'll do is calm down. And then the next thing you'll see a totally difference in the sleep. And this week, when I'm talking on the phone with Robert, when he calls in, I got to tell him about that. You know, that's what lights up Robert's life, hearing people live and feel better. There was a man who had an AFib for 17 years, and about 2-3 times a month, his AFib would go out. And this last year being on MasterPeace, he hasn't had one AFib episode. And, when I told that to Robert, it makes him cry. You know what the guy does? You want to hear this? You want to talk about some guy that doesn't belong in jail? Listen to this, guys. If you've ever gotten a phone call from in jail, you know how if you accept the charges, they say, this call has been accepted, and then they start the call. When Robert, you know what Robert does last night when they did that? He gets on and he goes, "Oh, it is so good to be accepted. Oh, that's what everybody wants, is to be accepted." And then because I'm from Kansas City, he starts singing Kansas City, Kansas City. Here I go. I'm like, they put this guy in jail. What the heck is happening in our life for them to put him in jail? So Jesse, you are amazing. For me to be able to call you up, make you aware of the situation and how everybody has been wanting to help and how everybody can help. And for you being willing to come on here and also stand up for the truth, right? Because we're so young and we got attacked so much at the beginning from our competitors, and you're willing to jump on board with us. And I know there's a big group of you now, but just seeing more of your shows now and what you stand for and the truth. You're my brother to me, man. You're my friend, even though we don't, because our world needs millions of us now before it's too late, So if everybody If you want to make a difference, your words will count. Tell them how he helped you, how he changed your life, saved your life. Talk to that woman, because at the end of the day, no matter how evil, no matter how corrupt of a system she's in, I get it. Her ass is in a sling a little bit in this case too. The other officers of the court are in a major sling, and they're being exposed, and they know it, and they're running around calling different. It's amazing to see the heat get turned up on these people for once. And if we write her and she sees what he's really all about, then she has the chance. She could let him right out right there. We're doing JNOV, which is Judge Not Without Standing, which is one of the many, every option that we can be brought forth that are unusual options. We don't trust bar. We know not to have any faith in bar attorneys. And, they've been fired from the job. So Robert Young's attorneys have been fired. His oldest son, has limited power of attorney with him right now, which means that every exhibit, every file, he's not being represented by any bar attorney, which is an officer of the court, which has a loyalty to the court before the person. So we have private counsel. We have certified ADA advocates on this. We are bringing the kitchen sink, every single possible option that bar attorneys will never bring, because they work and they cause major disruption to a corrupt, rigged court hearing. We have that on one front. We need to allow the judge to, be able to do mercy when she sees fit. So please, everybody, this would be the most important letter you wrote. If you talk about our world and the truth and our greatest scientists, what happens if someone could have wrote a lot of letters for Tesla or for Rife? What happens if a group of do-gooders like you and me and all of us in this truther movement that know we have to stand up, as sometimes, what happens if they would have got that? Who knows, right? Let's find out, because miracles are created. They don't just fall out of the sky. You got to do a little bit of work to get them. And so you have your part that you can do. We've been blasted and emailed thousands of times from everybody, and we didn't have an answer for them because everybody's heart was breaking, but we didn't know how they could specifically help. But this is it. This is how you can help in your own way. So, Jesse, thank you.
You're welcome. So here we have Stacy Lynn from our YouTube channel says, God protect Robert, so be it. You protect Robert. If he's touched you, if he's helped you, if he's had an impact in your life, you help Robert. Write a letter. Right. All it takes is spending a little bit of time, a little bit of a stamp to mail that letter. And the sooner you do it, the better. The sentencing is when?
March 28th, but the letters need to be in by March 15th. Do we have any place where we could put the address for the letters? I sent it to you on your text, and I know there's probably a few people on our team that is on the call. I don't know if they, but yes,
I put
we protect Robert by doing our work. God only helps the ones that help themselves. So God, Robert's in jail. God didn't keep him from being put in jail. We got to do the work, and I totally agree. Yes, yes, thank you so much.
I put this in all the comments, in all the different platforms. It's obviously, we had, I think, it into the description if what you sent before, but this, I've just put it in there. I've pinned it to the different platforms, so it's actually pinned there. And this is, and this is if he's helped you, if he's touched you, if you think that you've gotten some good advice from him that's helped your life.
Yeah.
Just write it down in a letter. Spend 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Put it down in a letter and send it to the judge. The more support that he does get of letters of people that he's touched their lives in a positive way can only do good. Because if the judge gets thousands of letters of how he's helped people, and he's got one instance of some kind of shady type of trial, of one instance of how he's given some advice to somebody but the person's still alive, it's kind of hard for the judge to be harsh on sentencing when there's thousands of letters of support. So if you do, if he has touched you, then please, take a little bit of time, mail a letter to this judge and just tell her how he's helped or touched you in whatever way he has.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And they're trying to make this dirty documentary complete on lies. And they've talked about it in the hearings going on. And I'm like, how did this not get brought up in trial? And how did the disclaimer form because the courtrooms are totally rigged. And so for us to be able to, wow, this is amazing. Thank you, Jesse. I am, well, I know I can speak for Robert on this one. I know he would be in tears. So he would, thank you, everybody. This is awesome, Jesse.
You're welcome. So what happened to the point where you can face your accuser? Like, aren't you supposed to be able to, like, in a court of law, if someone's accusing you of doing something, don't you have that like right to be able to face your accuser?
Yes, and they didn't even cross-examine her. So, in the only alleged victim out of this man who has been all around the world speaking forever, the only victim to this crazy madman with a crazy diet of eating raw vegetables is a lifelong friend who's still alive and is 84. So to get thousands of letters that say, hey, I'm alive, some of them say I'm alive today because of this guy. I mean, we hear that all the time. We're monitoring his emails and stuff. He gets at least 3 or 4 people a day that email him. It's talking about 20 years ago when I got your book or this. He gets those rampant. And so for the judge to get to hear that stuff, when the only alleged victim ain't even in there, and her daughter is going to have to talk at sentencing on why she thinks he should get all this time. And it's very clear she's making a documentary and she's a mess of a person over this, So, yeah, this is something that we haven't seen before, and we'll see if this, we'll see what kind of impact and change this is. And then once everything happens, Jesse, too, we'll for sure let you know, and we can, you can let everybody know, or we can do a show, whatever you see fit when this thing turns out. So we can see when we all came together on something that was a strategized plan on how we, especially helping out one of our greatest and our most innocent for sure. And yeah, so.
Now, and of course, as soon as we know, we'll do an update and let everybody know what's going on. So we can definitely do a show on that. Now, you mentioned it was a jury, so this was a jury of his peers.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
And so they heard the evidence, and then how long did it take for them to come up with a verdict? And,
so there was one main investigator. There was one main investigator. It took them 3.5 hours. There was one main investigator on the case that kicked in their door, that went through Robert's stuff, that went through all of his emails, through all of his banks, through all of his text messages, that went through everything. And every single last piece of evidence the main investigator presented, it took them like a half a day to go through it in court. They all showed that it was tainted. And in the closing arguments, there was one key witness, which was Jane Clayson Jr., who was on early morning show. You can look her up, Jane Clayson. Her mother was Jane Clayson Sr. When she was the only key witness, she looked like a complete liar the whole way. She got so obliterated in court. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And the main investigator's testimony basically got impeached. They changed. He talked for 2 hours. They came back and said, no, we can't allow that, can't allow that, can't allow that, can't allow that. And then when he talked, they showed in closing arguments, they said, every piece of evidence he put forth, we've shown you was tainted or manipulated. They said, this is not a prosecution. This is a persecution by a bunch of derelicts. These people are not for the people. These people are manipulative and deceitful. We're for the people. The lawyers look like they were doing a good job per se, but it's because our system is rigged. They knew that the jury was already tampered with. There was actually not one shred of evidence brought forth. Everywhere where California is liberal, very liberal in terms of it's the most liberal state to be able to practice medicine without a license. And if you practice medicine without a license, as long as you don't try to write people's prescriptions or do surgery, And you have medical disclaimers everywhere saying that you're not a medical doctor. And it's all over his website, all over any of his products, anywhere that it is. There was anybody that had seen the trial. There's someone I see messaging here that watched the trial. There was also the person, Sherry Beal. She does the Sherry Beal. There's a show. I can't remember a show. Oh, A Right to Know. She was there. Robert Young's son, the deputies that were in the court hearing, everybody expected a 5-minute acquittal because there was no evidence brought that was anything that showed, oh, this is real bad. No, the woman flew, the alleged victim flew in the town, yellow, and they told her, you need to go and see your medical doctor because she was real yellow. It was very unusual. And it was a hot potato, right? Because they're not a medical doctor. And so they said, hey, you need to go see your thing. And because it caused her daughter, who's the one that pushed this whole thing, to have to leave her. She's a famous news anchor and does a lot. She's a real famous person. She had to leave her life for a week to go tend to her mom. It sent her into a rage against Robert Young. And so she had the energy and she coordinated with the DA, and it all came out in the trial completely. And their messages were Brady violations because there was so much bad evidence of tampering. And the judge, there's about 11 different Brady violations on this case, which is crazy. And that's just one of them. So yeah, it's a messy, long story. I wouldn't be able to break down that quick, Jesse.
What does a Brady violation mean?
It's one of your most severe, easiest, quickest ways that a trial will get. A trial has to be given all the evidence so that the jurors can see all the evidence. Well, the paralegal and the DA and the investigator coordinated personal cell phone messages daily for years. And when they were all subpoenaed when Robert got his new attorneys, they were all subpoenaed before and most of them, they just didn't provide, they blocked out, and they seen that they blocked them out. And so in court, they told the paralegal, well, then we need her phone because we can tell there's messages that are erased. And the DA said, oh, she's worried about her child being naked in the bathtub and the pictures and stuff. And they said, well, no. You can erase those real quick, or we're not looking at that. We just want to go to the text messages.
What?
And they wouldn't allow it.
She's taking pictures of her children naked in the bathtub?
Well, the paralegal, when they tried to get her phone to look at her text messages in court, she told them, no, I don't want to give up my phone because I have pictures of my baby in the bathtub and I don't want them to see it. And they said, oh, okay, yeah, then we won't collect the phone, because they had seen when they subpoenaed the text messages and got them, a lot of them were just crossed out, completely marked through. And that's a Brady violation when there's evidence that's not being put in the court that is supposed to. Even in our rigged system, a Brady violation is one of your most severe, quickest things that lead to mistrial. And the judge said, oh, yeah, there's several violations, but not enough for a mistrial. I mean, the whole thing was rigged. Yeah.
Now, is obviously with everything that you're saying that there is lots of grounds for appeal on this.
Tons and tons and tons. And what they usually try to do with someone like Robert is they want to break you. They want to make you spend all your money on attorneys that are really rigged against you. And then they want to be able to make it so that when you go into prison, your appeals get turned down. Trying to do appeals in prison takes years and years and years. So we have very effective, very unusual in terms of the legal world, motions that bar and filings that bar attorneys will never do, because if they do, it would win them that one case, but then it would get their bar card taken by the judge, because it's just their little rules and how they keep each other in check. Now, we don't have any bar attorneys in this anymore. So we have a man that's on the outside, his oldest son, who works 5 minutes from the courthouse and clerk's office. So every single last file, motion, exhibit, affidavit, anything, all we have to do is send it to him, and he takes it down there and files it. And so that's all going to be in the court filing when the judge is going to know, oh, they're definitely going to be doing a lot of appeals. Oh, this whole thing's real messy and it's getting messier. And then we're going to send the judge a lot of letters. And the press is going to be all over this starting this week. They're going to really make everybody know all about the what's going down with this case.
So you mentioned that the daughter is, then this is from the news, or she's, you know, someone that's on mainstream media. She wants to do a documentary or something about this. So that means she wants to make money off of this, and this could be more about, you know, targeting him and making money. And didn't she care that that was her friend, her mom's friend, for, you know, lifelong? Like how does that, like, obviously the friendship is no longer, or
it's a long story, but we're dealing with a scorned woman who when she left Showtime and all this stuff for a while to become a mom, she wrote a book about I Am Mother. Then she wrote a book about her depression after she had her children. And then she was going to write a book about how she took down. Jane Clayson wrote the foreword in Robert Young's book, PH Miracle. If anybody has the book, PH Miracle, you open it up, the foreword was written by Jane Clayson. So in court, she said, yeah, I did that foreword because it was prime real estate. I was getting prime real estate. She made it sound like it was just an easy money grab, you know, to be able to write and afford, because she put Robert Young on the early show and they both advertised the book. So she had done a lot of work with him for decades. And whenever her mom needed help, he would always take care of her, no problem, loved her, and was good friends with her, knew her mom 10 years before he met her. And when this last time happened and he was like, oh, I didn't want anything to do with helping her because she was so sick and she had been living so wrong with her liver messed up, you know, and he's like, and that sent her mom off that sent her daughter, Jane, into a frenzy. In the court, it's very open that they are doing several documentaries about how she is the one, the woman who wrote the foreword in his PH Miracle book is the one to take down Robert Young. It's being painted like that.
That's crazy. Now, I got a message here from someone when I posted this on Twitter, and someone responded. And it said, what do you make of his fake PhD credentials from a Utah diploma mill? And they posted something saying
that's someone that's okay. I can already tell you that is completely, that is bogus. That is from Gina Darvis's content that she put into the press. If you go to drrobertyoung.com, drrobertyoung.com, and you will easily see where he was an Eagle Scout, each one of his high school diploma, his master's, his bachelor's, his this or that. It took him 7 years of education. It took him 2 years when he was a kid, 18 to 20. They took those classes and put them together with his master's and bachelor. And he took his master's and bachelor classes at the same exact time. And it still took him 2.5 years when he had 2 years of credits. And then it took him another 3 years after that to get his PhD. So I would do your own research before you just say, before a question's asked like, well, what would you make of his diploma mill farm? I would say that you read too much bad news, because that's the only place that's ever been said. That's the most ridiculous statement ever. If anybody knows the science that he's had, we all need to become better critical thinkers than that. And we all need to come together and unite a lot better than that. And this man is completely innocent. So if we want to make excuses on how we're not going to take up and stand up for a very innocent man that's tried to help people his entire life, they're coming for you soon. Then they're coming. If you think you just like, oh, I don't want to get involved, it's not my job, and it's not okay. Just when the shoe is on the other foot, don't whine, don't complain, because it will happen to us eventually. We see the trends and how they take care of us and how they control us. So yeah, we need to unite a lot better than that, than try to bring up lies.
Well, what I responded was, I think he's more of a doctor than 90% of the so-called doctors trained by the medical mafia to get you hooked on pills.
Thank you. What's a title? A title, it means you're indoctrinated and you do what you're told to keep your title. That's a title is not means you have experience or wisdom. It doesn't mean you have any of that. It doesn't mean, and what did you learn in that medical system? Does anybody believe that a title is, or a PhD is what is why you should listen to someone? How about this? I'm self-taught. I can run circles around PhDs in chemistry and nutrition all day long when it comes to anything nanocolloidal formulations or any of that stuff. I'm completely self-taught. I have no type of degrees. Does that mean does that mean I'm stupid and shouldn't be listened to? Or something like that. I don't understand our reasoning with that, with why we still think people with these indoctrinated educations have clout. That doesn't mean they have clout. That means they have indoctrinated beliefs that they have to unprogram if they're going to start thinking straight like we do.
Now, the other thing that the person said was clipped. It said, Young claims that red blood cells transform into bacteria when there's too much acid in the body, and that leads to disease. And
that's very true. Yeah, that's called pleomorphic biology. That is one of the most hidden, swept underneath the rug truths, starting before Antoine Béchamp. And absolutely, he has witnessed it, videoed it, and he has peer-reviewed and published on it, because our red blood cell, just so that you know, has no nucleus. It's the only cell that has no nucleus. Why? Because it becomes what it needs to become. And if the environment is acidic and not very healthy, then it will morph into a bacteria, so that the bacteria will try to start cleaning up the not so good terrain inside of you. But if that doesn't work, then it becomes a yeast. Then it becomes a mold. But then if you clean up the inner terrain or the environment and say you start eating healthier and all that, then it will start reverting back, and it will revert back to a red blood cell. Yeah. Our blood is obviously what makes us. What happens when a sperm and an ovum connect? It makes one red blood cell. And from one, we have two. Blah, 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 blah. It's our blood that makes us. So he's absolutely correct. And we all know that our bodies heal ourselves. They're healing mechanisms meant to bring ourselves back to homeostasis. That's why you only need to feed your body sunlight, water, and sodium. Feed your body water, sunlight, and sodium, and your body can make every mineral, every vitamin, everything you think you need. Why? Because our bodies are magical healing machines if you get the poisons and toxins out. You're not sick, people. You've been poisoned. There's chemical poisons. There's radiation poisoning. And if you get those things out of the body, you'll see. You feel a lot more childlike. You feel a lot more connected. You feel a lot more present. You get a lot more of your cognition back, your natural cycles, your circadian rhythm, your dream state, your dream quality, all those things that we experience heightened, better, healthier amounts of when we're children. Those things come back to us when we get the poisons out. And you know, that's all Robert Young was teaching people. Is that why Robert Young should be in prison for the rest of his life? Because we want to debate his PhD? That sounds like what the district attorney did in the trial, by the way. That's exactly what they did. Got way off the point, got way off of evidence, the facts, and got way away from the fact that he's a gentle, true humanitarian. And then they want to try one thing that they can try to taint and attack and manipulate. We all got to be better than that. That is not the way for any of us to think. We're not going to get ourselves a better world by being that way. We all have to connect, see our similarities, and be there for each other, even if someone's beliefs are a lot different than yours. Who cares? If they're a good person and are trying to make the world a better place, stick up for them. Just like your beliefs aren't going to be the same as anybody else's. But if you have a good heart, don't you expect other people to be there for you if you really need them? Okay. Well, we got one of our greats right now, and he needs us. So let's chip in and do that. Let's write those letters, okay?
Mary Marlowe from our YouTube says, Dr. Robert Young is an angel. So if you feel that way, Mary, there's the address that's, in the comments, in the description, there's an address that you can write the judge and tell the judge why you think he's an angel. This is real action. We can talk about whatever we can talk about. It's talking's talk, but right now, Dr. Robert Young needs some action. He needs everybody that's listening, that he's touched their lives in however he's touched it. however he's helped it. If you think that he saved your life, write this stuff into a letter, send it to the judge, and show your support. Real action is what we need right now, and hence why we done this kind of emergency broadcast. We wanted to make sure we got this right away. I just talked to Matthew here a couple days ago, and we're booked till April, but we just wanted to make sure that we got this into people's ears, because we've had Dr. Robert Young here maybe 5, 6, 7 times on the Missing Link Live over the last 4 years. Probably 7 times he's been here. So I really enjoy talking with him. I really think he's brilliant, and he does have a good heart, and he's, his heart's in the right place, and he is helping people. So it's really important for you to, show your support right now. If you feel that he has helped you. If he hasn't helped you, then obviously we're not talking to you. We're talking to everybody who he's touched, and whatever way he's done that, all you have to do is send a letter to letter of support to the judge, and just show how he's made a difference in your life.
Yes.
Red 40 from our YouTube says, if he has signed any type of paperwork, they have jurisdiction and they will do what they want.
That would be true if there isn't American Disability Act's things in this, as well as why. Sorry, I was reading the next one. He knows Chris James well. The Warrior Calls. They did that. It was too late at that point with that type of option. Yeah. I apologize.
It's okay. You were just commenting on this one about jurisdiction.
Yes, his oldest son now has limited power of attorney. So now they can put in all types of files, motions, and all that. And just because he signed forms before, there's allocation statement. There's a lot of different ways that can be undone. So, and we have, again, we don't just have a couple people. We have 3 people watching this call right now that are all over this law thing. And we have a team of about 8 or 9 that are all on the same quality, but have different spots of expertise. So our certified American Disabilities Act advocate is one guy. We have ones that just do conflict of jurisdiction issues and stuff. So we have the best specialists in law helping us out. And we are pursuing every non-conventional, unorthodox in terms of what the legal normal court system sees. We are throwing the kitchen sink of, when we're deep into the game like this, we need unusual results. So we're going unusual, techniques here. So we have a huge, it's going to be a huge file of every type of lawful remedy that is possible out there.
Now, did anything, like you said that the lady is still alive, but was she harmed in any way? Like, was there any?
No, she was better. She went down there for 2 weeks. She did colonics. He sent his personal cook to her hotel. He sent his son to drop off an infrared sauna there. This woman would listen to her regular doctors. She would listen to Robert. She would listen to whoever she kind of chose to listen to. And she left better than she came. She was less yellow, but when she wasn't trying to do what she could to really alkalize her body and reverse this problem, and she was still talking to her liver doctor and stuff, he said, hey, because she had been there for 2 weeks, she's sitting using his travel points and stuff where she's staying, and where in hotels. And they told her, you need to go back and see your medical doctor. That's all they told her. And she went back to the hotel, and the craziness started happening. She called her daughter down, and it was about 2 months later, they arrested him. Her mom, it's a very long story. Sorry.
So he's actually, tried to help her, sending personal chefs, sending, ultrasound.
Paying for it.
Paying for the red light therapy, saunas, and all these type of things. Like, he was doing things with no money incentive, and he
Right.
just
None.
wanted to help this person because, one, he likes to help people, and two, this was a lifelong friend of his that he
Since the
cares
early
about.
80s. Yes.
That he cares about. So he did what he could and what he thought was best to help her, and what he was doing was probably helping her, but yet now he's getting punished for it. He's getting,
Right.
they're
And she's
making him
still
trying to,
alive.
and
Yeah.
she's still alive. She didn't get harmed by any of
Nope.
the saunas or, the MasterPeace. They can't prove that anything that he did harmed her, but yet you said he's got charged with elder abuse or something?
Yes. Elderly abuse. Because practicing medicine without a license on someone over 65 is elderly abuse also. So the crime, it's kind of can't have one without the other with a senior citizen. And then because she had bought health supplements from him for about over 2 decades at that point, they got him for theft over $950. Even though she probably owed him $20,000 worth of the way he would take care of her and treat her. She would come down to his healing ranch, which had colonics, it has a personal chef. You live in this amazing ranch for the week. And this would be something, if anybody went out to a healing ranch like this, it would be $10,000 a week. It would be at least $5,000 a week. And he would let her stay there for free all the time. She'd been there many times. Yeah. All on record, all that stuff. But they painted it the way they want to, because this judicial system in America is the most rigged judicial system in the world. They can get whatever result they want. They can make it look like their attorneys are working for you, and then they can just get a conviction in 3 hours where everybody is in shock a week later from seeing it happen.
Now, I'm still trying to wrap my head around this theft of $900. So he advised her to buy some products, and she
Yes.
willfully bought it. She
Yep.
wasn't coerced. She wasn't held by gunpoint. He didn't go and take the money out of her purse and say, here's your supplements. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around her buying some products, how a jury could convict him when he just recommended something, she bought it. Where is the theft? Like, I can't wrap my head around how there's any theft when it comes to something like that.
And it's exactly the way I said it is. It is that insane. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Kudos to you for getting the media to actually, write some good things,
Yeah.
because, that to me is one of the most shocking things.
It's really, media and that kind of stuff. Those are PR companies that anybody can, you pay them, they're going to write whatever articles, and they're going to send them to wherever you want to. And, when we are trying to make the area aware of this, then it's getting sent down to San Diego, California. There's a lot of attention that's going to be brought to this, because they need to know that whatever they do, that their butts are in a sling too. And that's what we're doing with that. Yeah. I thought that was, I kind of thought, when Hitler, when they would take Germany, wouldn't they always start sending propaganda into the area? Oh, there's 20,000 tanks coming. Everybody just give up now, and get them to basically give up before it even starts. Well, I figure if these people know there's this much heat with the press, and there's this much light and exposure on their dirty actions, and then they see that there's a lot of appeals and motions and affidavits and exhibits and things coming into the file that have come in after firing his attorneys, let their butts pucker a little bit when they decide what they're going to do for the sentence. See how responsible they want to be for their malicious actions of taking down one of our greatest, best-hearted people ever. Yeah, so that's why these letters are going to help too.
Red 40 from YouTube says, just file simple claims against them for fraud and abuse. There is any? Yep. So you're actually going to be able to file claims against them for what they've done.
We're trying to, we're pushing it so that the DA gets arrested for elderly abuse for what they did to Robert in the next one. Absolutely.
Wow.
It's not a game, man. It's not a game. It's not a game what they're trying to do to him. That's why we all need to chip in and help. even if you don't know Robert that well or whatever, support a man who's innocent. He never wanted to hurt anybody. He only wanted to help people. He wanted to change and save lives. He lived for it. He lived to hear about how people's quality of life got better.
Mary from our YouTube says, Matt, I hope you get many more opportunities to appear on other shows to spread all of this info. Could you maybe share a little bit about...
Yeah, please get us on more shows. We would love to. We would love to bring more awareness to this. We need, yes, absolutely. So there's, to get a hold of me at MasterPeace or anybody at MasterPeace, if you tell anybody, any of our emails that's on our website, one of the guys watching this can maybe put my email in there. But yes, if you have shows, we need to bring awareness to this.
And I think you mentioned there's a few other shows that people are going to have you on. People are going to...
SGT Report and Sarah Westall. Those are incredible people with us that have been very long-term friends with Robert Young, and they are definitely helping too.
Okay, so those are more shows that you're going to be on in the next little while, so that way more people will hear about it and be able to write letters of support?
Yes, but we need as many as we can get from everybody. It takes yours to make it what it can be. It takes everybody's out there to make it as good as it can be.
Mary says, have you tried JBWCTM?
I don't know who that is. Sorry.
Neither do I. And
that's my email. So, yep. Someone wants to...
HCS@gmail.com.
Yes.
So yeah, they put that into the Rumble channel. So screenshot that if anybody wants to send, Matthew here an email, and just to share. And then we've got a link if anybody is actually interested in the MasterPeace or even doing the hair samples. This is the link that people can. So maybe you can explain what happens when they click the link.
You touch the link, it's going to populate it to our website. There is a 100% free, no obligation, no catch sign up process. It's 4 questions. I believe your name, last name, username, and a password. And then it will send you into our site. You can go to our hair test page and see we have the longest running hair tissue analysis person who does that in Europe. Will Houghton has some videos in there explaining everything for everybody. And you can go in there, you can go to our research page and read our human clinical studies of our different, we've done several trials now, and we have 2 more. We're actually going to be doing a trial. People are emitting MAC addresses. And there is a well-known Blue Truth documentary showing this phenomena. We have been working with this, showing this phenomena on our previous study patients, and we can see that we are removing the MAC address. About 85% of the people taking MasterPeace for 3 months are not emitting MAC addresses. So we're going to do a randomized, we're going to do a true study that we will peer review, publish, and put together on that. We'll also have the hair test study that's on our site. That's out of worldwide. That is, I believe, 22 countries now. And it's over 160 people that are learning about their levels of minerals, their different body functions, their stress, their renal, everything. And then they are seeing the levels of toxic metals and how we want to see those levels in the hair go up at first. When you start taking MasterPeace, you want the levels, you want the body releasing the metals. So that would make the levels of the hair go up at first. And then once they're purged, then you'll see those levels really go down. And that's the exciting part. So we're seeing a lot of people that even at only 4 months time, they're getting the aluminum out. And then it's like, okay, now that we've purged and extracted and grabbed and moved all the aluminum out, then the levels go way down. And so it's like, oh, it left. We got it all out. That's amazing. And let me ask you guys a question, because this is what we've proven when we've looked at things like graphene oxide. We've tested for hydrogel. No one else has done these tests. We've done these tests for PFAS and PFOAs and things like polypropylene, glyphosate, fluoride, talking about gender dysphoria chemicals like atrazine. We've done the test for urine, blood, and hair, testing heavy metals and forever chemicals. What we found is virtually across the board, we have about, after 3 months, really about a 65 to 75% of the lifelong accumulated the levels we're seeing go down in the blood, which is amazing. In our urine and hair, we see the levels at first go up and then they go right down, because if you have stuck heavy metals in you, it needs to come out of your urine and hair at first. But then once they're put out of your body, then you want to see those levels go down. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And we're seeing people across the board feeling better, living better, sleeping better, dreaming more, being more rested, being more clear and conscious. And it's clear. It's getting the poisons out. We're better people. We're more connected people. We affect our loved ones, our family, our community. We affect everything better with less poisons in you. MasterPeace is a solution to the pollution. It's the antidote. Every single last way we can test it, we tested it. We're 18 months old. No one else pushes products that sit there and say, hey, we're not going to market this stuff. We'll do shows and tell people about MasterPeace, but we're not going to spend any money on marketing. We're going to go spend money on doing human trials and testing this stuff and proving the effectiveness and efficacy of MasterPeace. That's what we did. And so if you want to, our results are all done by third-party lab testings, several different ones. They all are coming back with basically the same amount. Take a couple bottles of MasterPeace, you're going to be feeling a whole lot different in your life. And then keep going until keep taking MasterPeace until the world is cleaned up. Take MasterPeace and see how you feel when you have less poisons in you. See if you feel the same. You won't. Everybody feels better, because holistically, mentally, physically, everything's better when you have less poisons in you. Obviously, that's why they poisoned us. They wanted us dimmed down and not operating right? Well, get the junk out that they put in you and see how your body starts coming alive and the operating functions and everything starts working better.
How is this testimonial from Leighton Stones in our YouTube says, been taking MasterPeace for 8 months, age 54, feeling 34.
I bet she is. Yeah, absolutely. We got it, and that's beautiful. To get to wake up every day and read our testimonials page is what I live for and what everybody on my team lives for. The reason why we have the motivation to put up with these attack smear campaigns from our competitors and whatnot is because people are living better lives and we get to hear about it. Everything, not just feeling younger, not just having more energy, not just being more conscious, but joint pain, everything is made worse about your health from all these toxins, forever chemicals, these unnatural, environmental, industrialized pollutants that are all over our environment. Get those things out of your body with MasterPeace. Live your highest quality life.
Awesome. So what's next for you? How are you going to this next month? Like, you're just going to try to make as many people aware of what's happened to Dr. Young and try to get as many people to sign as many letters as they can in letters of support of him? Is that basically what your goal is for the next, 30 around, or actually 3 weeks, because you said it's got to be in by the 14th?
Yep. Yes. The aspects that we can talk, there's other aspects of our plan that are putting pressure on them. But we can't, but the things we can discuss, yes, I'm going to be bringing as much awareness to this as possible. We're going to get as many letters to this sentencing judge who's, without these letters, her hands are much more tied. If she has a lot of letters of people feeling great, then she has a lot more variance to lighten her sentence, which I'm sure it's going to hopefully make a lot of sense to her by the time 3 weeks comes, because of the attention that's going to be brought to this case. So yeah, we're going to try and pull off a miracle, because a miracle is due with this one.
So that PH miracle is now a Robert Young miracle. We need the Robert Young miracle to help him through this atrocity that's been set forth on him.
Yep.
You mentioned 6,000 testimonials, on the site. Is there any way to reach all of those people and just say, hey, you've obviously, found some benefit. This is help formulated by, someone who's being targeted. Is there any way, if this has actually helped you, could you maybe send this letter of support for him?
Yeah, MasterPeace is his latest corroborate thing that he's worked on in the last year. And I would think that we need to keep the letters tuned just to Robert Young.
Personally,
and
how you personally helped. And I think you mentioned when you were on last time that Robert Young has never taken a dime from MasterPeace.
That's absolutely correct. He's never asked me for a single dime. He's when he's provided his link, because in order to pay $53 a bottle, you have to use a link. So like you giving people a chance to hit your link, Jesse, it makes it where they can spend less money. And so he would provide people links, and he never got paid. He refused to take any money from me, because he said that if he did that, then everybody would say that he said all that he said about MasterPeace being the solution to the pollution, the antidote, that they'll say that he said that because I gave him money. And so he refused from the very beginning, and he's a very wise man, because that's exactly what would have happened when the attacks really started coming in.
So for him, he's able to, talk about something with knowing that he's not getting any financial incentives. So for him to to stand behind something like this without it being any financial motivation means he really believes in the product.
He stands for the truth, and Robert Young is truly fearless and incorruptible. He's role modeled that to everybody, being the most targeted, feared, smeared guy around for decades. Absolutely. The guy's the real deal. You're not going to swing money, power, women, anything in his face to get him to budge away from doing what's right. He's truly role modeled the highest character and one of those beautiful people you'll ever meet.
Someone who was really helping people and actually got targeted by the FDA and other things because he was saying that he was curing cancers and curing all these things was Dr. Sebi. They came and he had hundreds of people that lined up to say that, yeah, he helped me with this. He helped me with this. And they had to throw out the case against him, but he was still targeted by the medical mafia, by the system, by these predators. And he ended up getting, incarcerated, I believe, in Honduras.
Oh, wow.
And he ended up getting incarcerated because he had a whole bunch of cash on him. And they said they couldn't explain where the cash was from. And they incarcerated him. He died in prison there. So, this is another one of the greats.
Just because he had cash on him? Wow.
That's why they incarcerated him, because they said they couldn't explain where he got the cash from. So he was put in jail. Someone who had a healing place in Honduras, healing waters. He was eating the perfect diet, and yet they put him into prison. And I don't know how long it was. I don't know if it was weeks or months, but he ended up getting sick and dying in prison. And someone that's completely healthy, eating right. And so Ian Jacqueline here says they took out Sebi, they took out Dr. Bernardo Mayelka. Now they got Robert in jail. We must stop these scumbags.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming with a whole armada of things. I will tell you half of the things I cannot talk about. But what I can, the relevant stuff, this isn't going to just go quietly. If they're going to hang him, they're going to hang him in front of the world. The whole world's going to know about it. And it's going to be, I've told Robert, if they take you out, you're going to change millions and millions of lives, because they're going to do it right out in the open. If they're going to hang you in the gallows, we're going to put everyone into the gallows, so that they have to do their evil in front of everybody. Because what I've really noticed with these people is when they're really doing dirty stuff, they don't want to air it out. When they're really frying towns, nobody wants to take responsibility for the laser beams that are shooting down towns, right? But we could probably figure out who it is and who is actually responsible for it, because there's only so many people flying satellites up in the sky. So it's, we can kind of, but they won't come out when they're doing real bad things. Taking out Robert Young the way they did in this court hearing, I'd never seen anything like it. They're not going to do this quietly, and we're going to provide them all the letters and all the reasons why they can show mercy. So
now, yesterday I read an article about a whole police, not town, but a whole police precinct in a small town getting fired. They all got, like, they're for criminal behavior. So I think, a glimmer of hope is that they're finding these corruptions and firing police forces. They're firing the whole police force because of that type of corruption. So, maybe this had to happen this way to expose the criminality between the prosecutors and the judges, or whatever it is, this sham. Maybe this had to happen just in order for them to all be exposed, and for this criminal behavior, because obviously if this is the case, he probably isn't the first one to be, targeted by these people. And so, maybe this had to happen in order for them to, be exposed, and for him to be totally exonerated from this, horrific, sham of a trial.
Yeah, this same DA's office has targeted other doctors. Dr. Benny Johnson was one of them. So absolutely. And it's definitely time to bring this out.
Is there anything that you didn't talk about here today that maybe you wanted to share before we start to wrap this up here, brother?
No, sir. I just make a statement to everybody that doing your best thinking, your best living, your best feeling makes not just your life better, but makes everyone around you. And it's a lot easier to feel your best when you don't have nearly as many poisons and toxins in you. So MasterPeace is a very important thing. We made it. We've never increased the cost, no matter what changes and adaptations we've had. We've only improved the formula time and time again. It's helping everybody. Everybody taking it is experiencing good. That's why they keep taking it. Our buyback rate is 90-some%, which is very unusual for any product. And your health is worth it, and our world is worth it, and we all need each other at our best. So give MasterPeace a shot if you haven't, but especially way past that, write a letter for once, write a letter and make it count, please, for Robert's.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Matthew, for being a firm advocate here for Dr. Robert O. Young. I've liked him ever since the very first time that I met him. I think we were scheduled for 2 hours the first time, and we talked for 4 hours. I think it was the first time that he was on, and we was talking about water system and water machines and all these type of things. And I was just absolutely blown away by his brilliance. And, right away, I knew I liked him, and I got a good, kind of BS detector. I've got a good detector on, people that are speaking truth. And I liked him from the very, very beginning. That's why we've invited him on over and over and over again, because, and we've had him on, and then all of a sudden the trolls come in, the attacks come in and things like that. But that didn't deter us at all, because we've been attacked, and, we know where our heart is, and why we're doing what we're doing. We don't make any money off of anything that we've done here on the Missing Link. We haven't taken a cent. Whatever has come in, we've put in to try to pay for expenses here. So for 4 years, we've never taken one penny from anything that's come in on the Missing Link. And we're doing this because we feel we need to be doing this. And when we meet people like Dr. Robert O. Young, that we feel his heart's in the right place, doesn't matter where the attacks come in. We do the exact same thing. We have to deal with these attacks and things. So know that, you're not getting attacked if you ain't doing anything. You're not feeling the heat if you're not making a difference. And that's the crazy, unfortunate part. When you are making a difference, when you are touching people's lives, when you are helping, against the cause, against the agenda, then you do feel the heat, you do get the attacks, and that's just go. But has Robert been convicted?
Convicted but not sentenced? Yes.
So when was the date that happened?
Early in February. Yeah.
So early February, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, sometime like
2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, he got convicted by a jury of supposed to be his peers in a sham trial, which, you know, we got Matthew talking about. He got the media to actually say, and, you know,
Right.
that in print that this was a sham trial. And now
Oh, yeah.
he's got sentencing coming up on March 28th, and he needs letters of support to the judge, where we've put this, you know, we've put it into the comments, you know, throughout, you know, other people where you can send letters. I believe it's in the description, where you can send letters to the judge, where you can show your support and just be truthful, tell the truth.
That's right.
How has
Always.
Dr. Robert O. Young impacted your life? How has he helped your life? How has he saved your life, changed your life? What benefits have you had from listening, from reading his books, from, you know, maybe even taking something that he suggested? Whatever it is that he's done to help your life, please send that letter to show of support. Now's a time where you can act and you can do something to make a difference in someone that needs your support right now, because they're facing the firing squad. And, you know, will you be able to stand in front of it? And all you have to do is write a letter to be able to do that. We're not asking much, but, you know, if you can write that letter, is it possible to email the judge?
I don't know the judge's email.
We don't have the judge's email, and I think a handwritten letter of support would be
it's a lot different.
It's has a lot more impact. This way it's an actual mail to them. You're registered, you know, who knows if they look at emails, check emails, peruse over emails. But if he's got 1,000, or she gets 1,000, you know, letters of support, that's going to go a long way. So, you know, we've got thousands of people that watch this show. We've had Dr. Robert O. Young on a lot. If he has touched your life, impacted your life, you know, spend a little bit of time, write that letter, and, you know, show him that there are people out there that do care, that he has helped people. Because no matter what happens in the sentencing date, if there's 5,000 letters of support that comes, you know how much strength that will give Dr. Robert to fight this, knowing that there is so many people out there that he has helped, that he has touched. You know, just a simple letter is what we're asking from everyone here, you know, from the Missing Link Live. So thank you so much, Matthew.
Awesome, Jesse. Thank you so much for having this platform for everybody.
You're very, very welcome. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Nope. We're awesome.
Okay. Well, we've got another interview today at 9 p.m. Eastern with Jeff George. He goes by Stinky Cash on YouTube. He's the truther, exposing all kinds of stuff that's happened you know, in the world. So that's at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Missing Link Live. So let's all face infinity without flinching, for one love, one heart, one life. Namaste, everyone. And if they ever ask you to put on a breathing inhibitor again, Matthew, you know what to say? No maske. Okay. Bye, everyone. We'll see you next time we see you back here on the Missing Link. Bye, Matthew.
Thank you, Jesse. Bye.